Hi everyone, it's Natasha here. I get asked often about providing tips to living more consciously and healthfully. So I decided to do something about it and created Conscious Living Fridays. So what is Conscious Living Fridays? Well, it's all about bringing to you the hottest, healthiest, and most holistic alternatives to all things necessary for you to thrive. This exclusive bi-weekly email will be full of tips and suggestions you can explore and experiment for yourself that will help you live a more conscious, energetic, and passionate life. What to expect? Well, definitely food suggestions that are healthy and are backed up by research as to why and how the product or specific food is healthy. Nutritious recipes that will include the highlighted food of that week. Books and articles that have had a positive impact on my life or my podcast guests' lives, skincare products, cleaning product suggestions, and everything and anything in between. Conscious Living Fridays is all about providing you with options that will continuously expand your consciousness. I'll do the research for you so you don't have to. Trust me, I understand firsthand how overwhelming it can be. So, simply head over to caseyplusnatasha.com/Fridays and let's do this together.
Empower, inspire, awaken. Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast. I'm your host, Natasha Gray, and today on the show, we have the one and only Satyen Raja with us. Satyen is the founder and president of the Warrior Sage, which is a living synthesis of Eastern wisdom and Western practicality, combining the power of the warrior and the wisdom of the sage. He is a lifetime black belt martial artist and penetrating real visionary who compels his clients to harness their greatness, obstacles, and transform them into the most powerful gifts. A master in a plethora of healing and consciousness-raising modalities, Satyen is unique in the world of business and life coaching. His revolutionary methods attract CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high-level leaders from around the world. Satyen has invested over 3 decades of hands-on research, and he has led workshops for tens of thousands of individuals internationally. Welcome to the show, Satyen.
Hey, Natasha. Thanks so much for having me. Really honored.
Yes. I learned about your work recently when I watched the new documentary, The Abundance Code, as I was telling you earlier, and found myself really connecting to what you were saying and your teachings, and really wanted to share that with the listeners. So I was wondering if maybe we could start with having your definition of what it is to live abundantly.
Well, first of all, for me, it starts with living from and in the heart of service, the heart of joy, the heart of love. And then from that space, being able to create a lifestyle where you can really choose what you wish, when you wish, how you wish to live it. So being able to create what you want, when you want, how you want, but not from your mind, not from one's ego, just from the desire, superficial desires, but real abundance for me is living from the abundance and creating it from where's our soul want to live from? What do we want to appreciate and experience at a soul level of living? So it's much deeper than the superficiality or the superficial traditional ideas of success or abundance. To me, it has to go right to the core or else it backfires,
Absolutely. In your work, you combine the power of the warrior and the wisdom of the sage. What do you mean by that? Could you give us a brief overview of what that means?
Yeah, certainly. So the warrior within us is the one that has a direction, has a purpose, has a mission. The warrior within us is the one who acts in spite of their fear. They move forward. They see an opportunity. They move forward. They get stuck. They may have some adversity hit them, and rather than staying stuck at the bottom, they get up. So if they fall down 6 times, they get up on the 7th. So the warrior is that concerted, conscious intention and discipline and the willingness to break through any obstacles. So that's the warrior, okay? And I believe we all have that within us, men and women and everyone. The only problem is it's undercultivated. in a way, atrophied from the lack of real use, Now, that's the warrior side. But if we only utilize the warrior and galvanize and kick that up a notch, what will happen is we'll become too yang, we'll be too stiff, we'll become too masculinated, which is fine, but masculine energy is good. But when it's overdone, then it causes tension, brittleness, a type of stiffness in life. And that's why we need to then also, I believe, incorporate or awaken the sage within us. And the sage within us is the aspect within us that's connected to wisdom, higher meaning, higher purpose, deeper truth. And the sage is the eternal place within us, is our eternal nature, is the part within us that is here before we're born, that's here after we die, and that we can connect to find the real deep answers and the navigation that we need to move through the world with ease, with grace, with beauty, with benevolence. So these two characteristics within us, these two energies, these archetypes, warrior and sage combined, make for the greatest way of life I've discovered for myself and the people I've had the pleasure to coach.
So it's really not necessarily about, the warrior being a masculine energy and the sage being a feminine energy, as it is more of a warrior being like an earthly energy and the sage being more of a non-earthly energy, and both living within.
Yes, exactly. You can say warrior is more masculine and sage is more feminine. That's one way of looking at it. But the way you shared it is also really beautiful. And that is, the warrior is the earthly element and the sage is the transdimensional or spiritual element of our being.
So while we're kind of talking a little bit about, the idea of masculine energy and feminine energy, let's dive into that, because I really want to have a big conversation around what that is, what it looks like within our relationships, our intimate relationships, as well as our broader relationships, because I know you are a real expert in this area, and you and your wife do a ton of work with this, and you've served so many people. So I really want to extract your expertise to help the listeners get in touch with that part of who they are. Because I know when I found out about this and immersed myself in this information and really experiencing it, it's transformed my relationship. And so I really want others to learn about it and experience the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my wife and I, Suzanne, we've been together now 29 years, which,
wow.
Yeah. And we actually met in Brampton, Ontario.
Oh, neat. We're in Ottawa, Ontario.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we met in high school and became really good friends. And it was after high school we became partners, and that started our lifelong journey now of learning how can we create a passion and love and intimacy that lasts for a lifetime, and that can also be applied in other areas of life. So one of the fundamental distinctions that we've discovered is that within all of us, we have this masculine energy, and within all of us, we have this feminine energy. It doesn't matter for male, female, whatever our sexual orientation is. That has nothing to do with this. What really is powerful is that the masculine within us is the energy that's always seeking greater freedom from the constraints of life. So practically, let's say I'm having my work and my job, and I feel trapped in some way in my work. The masculine energy is the part of inside of yourself that wants to break free from those obstacles, those chains, whether it's in family situations, whether it's in finances, whether it's in spiritual pursuits. Or even in sports, right? The idea of breaking through obstacles so that you can cross the line and carry the football, or the obstacles where there's another team and you have to push through them, move around them, and then when you hit that basket, then there's a victory. So that part within us that wants to break free from the obstacles is the masculine within us. And it is the non-changing, the part within us which is not changing, which is timeless, edgeless, and steady. Some would call it the witness consciousness, okay? The part in us that's witnessing the experience. Mm-hmm. Now, we also have, all of us, feminine energy within us. So the feminine energy, it's always striving for creating deeper love and connection. Whereas the masculine energy is looking to create deeper freedom. The feminine energy wants to see, do you love me? Can I love you even deeper? Can we nourish this love that we have between us? Should, the story of, he loves me not. That's the feminine energy within us. It's the life force of the galaxy, of the universe. It's what is giving us life and blood and movement and passion and flavors and colors and foods and society and nurturing. All of those energies all have to do with the feminine within us, okay? Now, the thing is that some of us have more of a natural masculine energy, meaning we're more skewed that way. That would be me. So I would be 70% masculine, let's say to round it off, right? And 30% feminine at my deepest core, which means most of the time, if I'm watching movies over a year, right? 7 out of 10 of them will be more adventure, dealing with obstacles, a challenge, rocky adventures, against all obstacles. Can we break through? Those are more masculine oriented type movies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love feminine movies, fried green tomatoes and love stories and all of those. I love love stories. But if I were to clock them over a year, I would be watching more masculine. Now, the totally converse is true for my wife, Suzanne. Her essence is more feminine, which means she loves those type of the pursuit of love, the pursuit of community, creating greater love on this planet. That's her deepest passion. But she also has a drive for success and breaking through obstacles and having more freedom. But her skew is 70% feminine, 30% masculine. So what's amazing is we always attract our reciprocal sexual polarity.
Speak to more about that.
Yeah, so I'm 70-30. I'm 70-30, 70 masculine, 30 feminine. She's 30 masculine and 70 feminine. We attract each other. And so, we go through stages of this evolution. We go through 3 stages of this evolution to keep it really simple, okay? Mm-hmm. For simplicity's sake. The first stage, masculine and feminine, is the codependent relationship. The old 1950s and earlier? Mm-hmm. The idea of an Archie Bunker and Edith, or the man says what goes and that's the way it is, and it's more patriarchal type of society. It's my way or the highway. It's more ego. It's more based on codependency, and you need each other to fulfill each other. She needs him for security. She needs him for stability. He needs her to deal with children and sex and all of that stuff, mm-hmm. Right? So that's the first stage, and I'm not advocating that. The world mostly is in the first stage. What we're advocating is moving beyond that for those who are ready, right? Mm-hmm. So, am I going too fast here? Is this good?
No, this is great. What I was just thinking is, looking into that era, that's not to be confused with masculinity, right?
No, because it's first stage masculinity.
Exactly.
So
okay.
First stage masculinity is the macho jerk type
the
energy.
Ego, yeah.
War,
right.
Whose weapon is bigger than whose other weapon, who's mightier, who can beat their chest even harder, okay?
Right.
Who can control and dominate more. That's the first stage energy. So unfortunately, the masculine energy's got a bad rap because many of the role models, negative role models or history shows us that it is bad in the first stage, okay? Mm. The first stage person attracts the opposite side, which is the needy, helpless, feminine person. Whether it's a straight relationship or a gay relationship, there's always one who has more masculine, more feminine, right? So the feminine partner would be more in that situation, needy. I need your love. If I don't have your love, what will I do? And that's the unhealthy codependency. And the worst form of that, in its extreme is abuser and abusee, Mm. Now, moving beyond that, in the 60s, what started happening was women started saying, look, we don't want to be underneath the pressure, if you will, the governance or the having pressure over me. I want to do what I want to do. I want to be able to create my own career, my own money, my own bank accounts. I want to have my own dreams. I just don't want to be stuck in what society says I should do. I want to expand. So the women's movement was very powerful in helping women come out of this first stage masculine oppression, right? There's still a lot of work has been done in North America, the Western countries. There's still a lot to be done in the world, which is quite backward in that, right? And then in the second stage, what happens is a feminine person, they develop masculine energy of direction, self-resourcefulness.
I was just going to ask you about that, because the feminist movement, while it did amazing things for women, did it not also really do, a lot of not so nice consequences for our intimate relationships, because we took on these masculine traits of and not getting that polarity between our partnerships?
Exactly. You see, what happens is if you're a feminine person at your essence and you overrun a lot of masculine energy, which is just everyday even working, running a business, going to work, taking care of all the tasks and responsibilities, that's activating a lot of masculine energy. And unfortunately, if you're a feminine person at your core, more feminine, then you'll get burned out even faster. You'll lose touch with your deepest senses. You become more stiff, more dry, less sexually evocative, more irritable, and no matter how much success you can do, you can probably be, and in this case, women are now, for the first time in North American history, there's women CEOs who are making more money than men CEOs. But the consequence is that it kills your feminine heart eventually, if it doesn't very early on, and then the shadow, you just become a shadow of, or you become a duplicate of a masculine person in the feminine body.
And there goes the passion in the relationship, because the polarity's gone.
And guess what? And then what you attract is a person who's masculine at their core, but who's overemphasizing their feminine energy. I love you. I don't need you. What do you want to do today? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Which drives us crazy, because we want men to make some decisions. And so you can automatically see how this is just not good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the next evolution that we're moving into now is the third stage. And Suzanne and I, this is what we advocate. It's the principles that we teach. And, at our live events, we dive into these practices, right? But the third stage is really all about, instead of these old stuck role models or reactionary opposite role models, that the second stage found themselves in, like the new age flowing guy who really has lost his purpose and direction in life, attracts, but he's safe. He attracts a partner who knows where she's going, what she wants. But because they've come to this balanced state, more balanced in their masculine and feminine, which is healthier, much more healthier than the first stage. Unfortunately, the detriment is the passion weakens, because you have to have a strong arc of polarity. There have to be two strong poles, a masculine pole and a feminine pole, just like in a battery, right? There has to be a strong north and south pole to create the spark, right? To start the car or to charge your radio or whatever. So too, that the masculine and feminine have to be a strong spark to have that connection. And that's the next stage, the third stage. And the third stage is we drop all the role models. We open our heart. Whoever has more of a feminine essence, they claim it. They own it. They love themselves, and they treat themselves as a goddess of value, of beauty. They can do the masculine things when they need to at work, but when they're free of that, they cut loose, they enjoy their feminine nature, they know that it's powerful and not weak. And what happens for the masculine side, who's got the masculine essence, he finds his purpose, his direction, where he's going to in life, and it's bigger than just his ego. It's like, what must I do to make a bigger service on this planet? And then both get together for something bigger. In the third stage, in the first stage, you're there for codependent, unresolved family dynamic reasons, okay? Mm-hmm. In the second stage, you come together for equality, for balance, to share a life together. And in the third stage, you get together to create heaven in your own life, to create heaven on earth, to have a mission that you both can devote yourselves to. You become a devotee to your lover. Beloved, how can I help you with your purpose, your mission, your gift? And you do that with each other, unreserved, in a very powerful, erotic, ecstatic way.
I have quite a few questions for you, but one I can, hear our listeners right now saying, first of all, how do I know what my dominant essence is? Am I more masculine or am I more feminine? So how does someone figure that out for themselves? And two, if they are more feminine at their core and they are out in the working, outside of the home working, or even in the home working for that matter, how can they then kind of drop their masculine hats off at the front door before walking into the house with their partner, or their masculine hat off at the front door for that matter, or sorry, their feminine hat at the front door before walking into their partner? And what does that look like in practical terms?
Practical terms. Okay. This is a really good question. Well, it just turns out that about 70%, roughly 75% of all men happen to be more masculine dominant in their core. Okay. Not everyone, but most.
Okay.
And about 70% of women are more feminine at their deepest core as well. It's not black and white. It's more like a moving scale. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that about, I would say, let's say another 10, 15% on both sides are right in the middle, balanced. Or, and then the other side is totally the opposite. There's some people who are male bodies but have a feminine essence, and there's others who are, the exact reciprocal. How do we find out? Well, here's some certain clues, okay? Mm-hmm. So let's get a little risque here, mm-hmm. and go into our sexual desire realm, our fantasy dimension, okay? Mm-hmm. If you in your fantasies, in your sexual desires, crave to be taken more, to be put up against the wall, to be loved strongly, to be ravished, your lover is bigger than you wish to have them bigger than you, not overpower you without heart, but take you from the heart, right? Mm. That means you have more of a feminine essence. If you desire to be the one that is the ravisher, the one that says, I love you, you're mine, I'm taking you, that type of energy. But again, from the heart. Without the heart, it's just abuse, right? With loving heart connection and intimacy and trust, it's very juicy to be in that commanding Casanova role. If you have that desire more so, then you're more oriented in your masculine. Now, what I say is it's good to know the whole spectrum. It's good for us to practice the whole spectrum. So although I am more the ravisher in my relationship with my wife, I also like occasionally being ravished, coming in through the door and having her grab me and throw me up against the wall. Mm-hmm. I love that too, but not all the time. I love doing that more. So the artistry is to feel into that and start creating enough love connection so that you can play these poles artfully as a game, not as a have to or a stiff societal role like in the first stage. It's more of a game you play. Beloved, I'm the ravisher now and you're the ravishee. And then you switch as you wish. But so that's one of the ways to tell. The other ways to tell is, as I shared regarding movies. Do you enjoy movies that are more so skewed about against all odds, one person against the whole army, few people against a mountain, and we got to climb that mountain? If you're more drawn to those movies, which is about overcoming adversity, breaking through obstacles, breaking through challenges, those are more masculine oriented. And those that have to do with more feminine orientation are the ones that have to do with the drama of love. Will love happen? How will it happen? So feel into those two, and that'll give you more of a sense. So where do you sense you fall in there, Natasha?
I would say 90% feminine and 10% masculine. And I realized that when I was first introduced to this concept, this idea, and I was working outside of the home at the time, in a 9 to 5, and I remember putting on, this more masculine role at work in the office, and remembering to take that masculine shield off at the door. And it didn't feel right for me. It may feel right for other women or men for that matter, but it just didn't feel okay for me to constantly be shifting and having to consciously be shifting like this all the time. I wanted to live more of my femininity on more of a regular basis, because that's when I was smiling more, that's when I would be crying more, and that's more of who I was, and I wanted to be more of that. So I made a shift work-wise to grant me that opportunity. And I think that a lot of the work I do now with people is, especially women who at their core are more feminine, but feel like they're just so drained with the work they do and their 9 to 5. And then, to think about having to be feminine with their husband and what that even means is just exhausting for them. They literally don't have the energy to do that. And I completely empathize and I get it. So and that's another question I have for you then, is how do you work with someone who is experiencing that, where they are more in their masculine during the day at work, but aren't really fulfilled by their work, by that role?
I understand. Well, as I shared earlier, my wife is an expert in this for women.
Yes, and I'm going to have her on the show, everybody. So just hold on to that.
She'll be able to express it in a much more powerful way because she's living with it, right?
Yeah.
But as a masculine person, here's the key: we all, whether we're men or women, masculine or feminine, when we come back from home, when we come back from work or some type of thing that demands our attention and our focus, we all could use a deep dive, a bath, a spa of the soul, of the feminine soul. And all of us, because the masculine puts out lots of energy as well as the feminine all day long. When we come back home, we need to replenish in the feminine. And that means practically what I do with my wife, Suzanne, is I'll take off. I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a drive. I'll go for a swim. I'll go for a hot tub, a sauna. I'll do some, I like to be out in nature, and I'll replenish myself, and I'll just sort of half an hour to an hour, shut everything off, get off of the internet, get off of my cell phone. I won't even take my cell phone with me. And I unplug from everything. And sometimes I get massage. Sometimes I'll get body work. Sometimes I'll just lay on the grass and sit there. You have to feel into what plugs you out of the hustle bustle and what plugs you into nature. That's the essence for all of us, because nature is the ultimate feminine. It's the source of all life. And so when we plug into Mother Nature by sitting with trees, sitting with the flowers, going gardening, going for yoga, working out, getting massage, even self-massage, where you get some coconut oil and butter and put it on yourself and create a little ritual of self-love. Sometimes you just need to do nothing, sit back. But the key is to just allow yourself and honor yourself for spacing out, and have a moment for yourself of what I call extreme laziness. And when you do any of those, it's going to shift every day. Any of these nourishing rituals, before you meet each other as lovers after work, then once, she's had her replenishment time, I've had my replenishment time, we'll meet, and it may be 7, 8 o'clock at night. But now we're there as lovers. We see each other as lovers, not just as weary beings.
Now, there is a lot of parents on the show, that listen to the show. And I want to include the fact that you are also a parent.
Yeah.
So let's throw that into the mix too, and how you dance with that.
Well, here's the key. We've got a very powerful young teenage daughter, 19, and a very powerful 17-year-old teenager boy. And they're a handful because they're very empowered and they're quite strong-willed. And I'm sure a lot of parents know what I'm talking about here at some degree. We have to, here's the key. Suzanne and I have a philosophy, and that's we put each other first. We put our passion first. We have a saying, ignite passion now, because everything else can wait. So our kids know, we've told them, listen, Mom and I, you guys came from us. We love you, but we're going to be putting our passion, our connection first. Now, if you've got young kids, this is harder to do because the young kids take so much energy. And so what I recommend is, if the masculine partner in the relationship arrange times where the feminine partner, or both partners, you arrange a time where you can cut loose, have family members take care of the kids, do it often, once a week at least, and make a date night for yourselves. Because if you don't foster the love and the passion between you two, I mean, you may be just tired of that date night and just cuddle together for 2-3 hours and share a glass of wine and good music and get cuddly. You may not even have energy for sex, right? But it's the fact that you're putting each other first. I like to look at my lady and let her know that, God, you're a goddess. You're hot. You're gorgeous. Because it's so easy to just get stuck in the role of a mom, Mm-hmm. So as the masculine partner, I let her know how gorgeous she is, how juicy she is, how attracted I am, how I find her attractive. This is very valuable, so that the mom in the situation doesn't get stuck in that role of, I'm a mom that's a flat pajama wearing mom.
It's so true, especially with younger children.
Yeah. But this is the key. It's valuable to create very specific times, once a week minimum, where there's a date night. Even if it's when the kids go to bed, it doesn't have to be a big spend. You may not have to leave the house, but you create that sacred sanctuary time, that passion time. It's the key. My wife and I have been doing it for many years, and it keeps us alive. It keeps us strong.
Oh, I think that's so great. And it really is very opposite of what our generation was brought up with, was that, the partnership, the marriage isn't necessarily the first and foremost important thing. It was kind of the work and the kids were more important, and bringing in the bacon. And so I really appreciate going back to essentially the formation of the whole thing in the first place, which was the partnership between the two people. How do you foster and nurture your children's connection to their femininity and masculinity? And what does that look like? I'm assuming, obviously, you're teaching them by way of directly engaging with your wife the way you do. But do you have conversations with them about, fostering this essence within them? Or what sorts of things do you do with the kids? They're older now, so obviously you're not.
Yes.
But what sorts of things would you do?
Through the journey, the main thing is the demonstration.
Yes.
Of love and passion. My wife came from a more conservative, Western, Jamaican background, and I came from an East Indian background. So very, different cultures in a lot of ways, right? And both cultures put family, work, and everything first, and then the passion of the parents, right? And like we just talked about, we reverse that, and it's made such a huge difference. Now, even though our we don't mind, moments of hugging, kissing, what's it called? Public displays of affection. We do that in front of our kids.
Yes.
And although now they're a little older, they cringe at times, or they giggle, or they're like, oh, here, there's mom and dad again. We feel that in the long term, they'll have an imprint. They'll have an example. They'll have role models of love can be strong 30 years later, passion can be strong, will be strong 30 years later by not hiding passion and love from the world, but allowing affection to be the norm rather than a hidden secret. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and being taboo or something that's dirty or bad or wrong.
exactly. And you know, my daughter, she's very feminine. She'd be like you, like 90% feminine. You know, we fostered her to go to dance and to, dance training. And the other thing is we also believe in mentoring. So we've taken our kids to the top mentors in their respective realms. So my daughter spent time with prominent women, influential women, volunteering, helping out, things like that, right? Just to get the vibe of other conscious good women, right?
Yes.
And men. And my son has been involved in martial arts. My daughter as well, but she did it for a little bit. It wasn't her thing, but at least I know as a father, she's got that capacity in her to kick ass if she needs to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my son has been doing martial arts for many years, cultivating his masculine energy. But recently, over the last few months, on the instruction of our martial arts teacher, he's ordered him to take up dance lessons. So to
Oh.
learn how to flow and learn, because, you know, when you're training with mostly male people in the martial art that we study, mostly about 95%, right? Um, you're not going to expose yourself to too many feminine people or feminine energies. Martial arts is very masculine. So he's taken up dancing, and that's flourishing him and making him more of a mature person. And so he can appreciate the feminine within himself and learn how to honor women in a respectful way, which is, I think, what we all need to do, and show and demonstrate is the honoring of third stage masculine, honoring of the third stage feminine in society, rather than poo-pooing either side, you know?
Beautiful. I couldn't agree with you more, especially the importance of allowing our children to see and learn through demonstration rather than just telling them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to leave out those who aren't in an intimate relationship. And I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about how someone who isn't in a relationship get to know their essence, but also connect with someone who will be a good fit for them. Because as we know, we tend to attract people who will bring forth a lot of unconsciousness.
I understand what you're saying. Well, one of the things that my wife and we advise our single clients is very simple, is go on a couple of dates. If you end up going on a couple of dates, let's say, and some, you know, there's so many dating sites and all of that now, be honest and share what your deepest values are right off the bat, not your shallow stuff. Share what your values are. What do you value truly? And if you put that out, then you're going to get people who are interested in those similar values. If you get a chance to go on a couple of dates, here's the key. After 2 or 3 dates, don't trust, hear me again, don't trust your own inner navigation, because most people's integrity meter is twisted, distorted, or totally broken. If you're a feminine person, ask your girlfriends, go on a, let's say after the 2nd or 3rd date with someone, go on a group date or a gathering or a house party, something where there's not just you two, you know, like some social experience, right? Then at the end of that, ask them, loves, what do you think of this person? What do you think? What's your true feelings? I really want to know. Now, if 3 of your 4 girlfriends go, he's a dud. Are you kidding me? What are you doing with him? That guy's just not the right match. Although you may think he's perfect, you can't see with your own eyes, your own self. Only other people can see that. Take the advice. Now, if the girls go, wow, maybe you go, well, he's not that good looking, and I'm not super sparked by him, but your girlfriends go, are you kidding me? Look how he's a man of character. He's got principles. He's going somewhere in life. Go on a few more dates. So trust your feedback from partners and friends, feminine friends that you can trust. Okay. If you're let's say more of a masculine person, after the second or third date, you can't just go by if you're hot erotically or sexually, okay? Check in with your buddies. And the question to ask is not, is she right for me? The better question to ask is, do you feel I'm living deeper on my purpose? I'm more chiseled, I'm more focused on living my purpose, or am I more distracted? A good partner, a good feminine partner will inspire you to live your deepest purpose greater than you could live on your own, because the power of the feminine is the fuel that infuses our mission and our purpose in life.
Oh, love that. Do you have any exercises that you and your beautiful wife do to enhance the love and intimacy between you two? Or do you just have any that, you want to recommend to our listeners who want to kind of test this out?
Well, I could provide, I have tons of exercises and experiences on our website. You don't know of this website. It's not listed publicly, but it's ignitepassionnow.com. And it's got to be spelled out just like that. ignitepassionnow.com. And on there, Suzanne and I have created about 200 videos specifically to ignite passion for a lifetime. And there's stories of our tales, exercises, practices. But the most valuable thing around all of this is both sides magnify your masculine and feminine energy in times of your sexual play and intimacy. So in other words, I'll give you a very powerful exercise, okay? A very simple one. You sit across from each other on a date night, and if you're the feminine partner, you say to and I'll use a straight situation in this, you'll say to your guy partner, you'll go, "Beloved, I trust you." He lets that in, lets it touch his heart, and then responds with, "Beloved, I love you." And then you go back and forth. "Something I trust about you is, beloved." Then you say something you trust about them. And then he responds, "Beloved, something I love about you is." And you go back and forth like that for a few minutes. You see, the masculine person grows much more deeper when you offer him trust. You could say, "I love you, I love you, I love you." That's because you love being loved, right? Mm-hmm. But he enjoys hearing and gets, and the warrior, the sage, the noble character, the Camelot within him will grow when you tell him what you trust about him. Do that with each other. You offer him more trust and tell him what you trust about him during the day. I really trust when you do that in the small things, and tell him why you trust him. And for what I can do as a masculine partner is tell her how beautiful she is. Share about her radiance, how much I love her, what I love about her. By sharing those with each other, sometimes in formal ways where you go back and forth. Sometimes Suzanne and I will do this when we're driving to a place. "Honey, you know what I love about you is?" And she'll just go, "Ah," right? And she'll go, "Honey, you know what I trust about you is?" And when she shares something like that with me, I'm like, wow, it hits me deep. That opens the doorways to the soul, opens the doorways to intimacy, opens the doorway to like profound and intimate and juicy sex, as well as a deeply spiritual connection with each other.
Yeah, that's so great. One thing I wanted to add too is the idea of making sure that you aren't distracted when doing that. And this idea of being fully present, because I know doing exercise is similar to that. Not that one, I'm looking forward to practicing that one. But doing exercise is similar, and if Casey, my husband, for example, isn't present, I know it and I feel it, and I disconnect. And so for any listeners out there who really want to do this, make sure you're not distracted and it's not scripted, right? Because women especially know, or the feminine energy knows whenever it's scripted too. If you're just saying, "Oh, you're beautiful," and you've heard it all day and there's really no presence with it, then it really doesn't mean a whole bunch.
Exactly. And the context of this is shut all your phones off, internet off, shut everything off. and make it so that the world disappears and the only thing that's left is your lover.
Beautiful. Love it. I have one more question for you, and it's a question I like to ask all of our guests at the end of the show, and that goes like this. If the world was in your classroom and you had one lesson to teach, what would your lesson be, Satya?
This is the essence of the path of the warrior sage for me. And it's a question. I like to start with the question. It's a deep, penetrating question if you allow it in. And that is, what must you do today to love, live, and die completely without regret? I'll repeat that. It's allow this question to touch you. What must I do today to love completely, to live completely, to die completely without regret? Your soul knows what that is that you need to do today. And if you just do that one or two things that your soul tells you from within, your heart tells you from within, I guarantee you a whole new dimension of life will open up in front of you. But it's a daily question, and it's not a light one. It's a real one. It's not a superficial one. You know, when you let it in, what must I do today to love, live, and die completely without regret? That would be the starting point and end point of the lesson.
That's a beautiful lesson. And it's one that, keeps on going too, because I think in this moment, there's so much that comes up for me, even just posing that question, but it could look differently in a year from now. So I like how you say, consistently ask that question.
Exactly.
Thank you. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, our website, my main website is warriorsage.com, WARRIORSAGE.com. And on there, we have our private community that you can be part of. Just fill in the form at the website there. You'll be invited to our private Facebook community, which is a really cool, active community. We're always sharing about these teachings. And you'll also be on our private invitation list to live online events that we hold, as well as retreats and gatherings that we put together as well.
Yeah, and you have one in India in February, I believe.
Yes, we have a spiritual adventure tour to India that we're taking some intrepid adventurers on in a very powerful way for 2 weeks. And we also have a leadership retreat that we're doing for people in influential positions. We have a very small, intimate retreat in Hawaii in October. And all the information is there, and that's called the Awakened Leader Retreat, and that'll be happening on the Big Island. So those of you who are inspired, please reach out at warriorsage.com and we can have a chat about it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Satyan.
Thanks, Natasha. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and hope you've gained some value and implement this passion into your life.
Hey everyone, one last reminder before you leave. Don't forget to hop over to caseyplusnatasha.com/Fridays and sign up for the exclusive bi-weekly Conscious Living Fridays email, where you'll receive the hottest, healthiest, and most holistic alternatives to all things necessary for you to thrive. Thanks everyone, and have a fantastic day.